So, Steve, a couple of weeks ago, you had the periscopes that went up at different speeds.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that because I only briefly saw it on the screen. Let me just get rid of something here. That the secondary scope that went up faster was pushed up by the internal core of that flexible cable.
Yes.
And it was
actually the 2.4 gigahertz antenna cable, the little RX or the coax cable. So
yeah. And that was on the outer radius of the horn on the servo to give it more purchase.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to play with that ratio just a little bit, but it's not that big a deal. And it didn't take much more. I mean, it was maybe an inch beyond where the push rod was connected for the actual scissor lift.
Yep.
But it was a real long horn. I had to get it off of Amazon.
Right.
Yeah, that worked really good. That was really good.
Yeah.
I'm almost wondering though, if, like a boat of that size that you got right now, I wonder if rather than again, like the entire mast assembly all raising together, if it wouldn't be simpler just to have like a hydraulic system. And I started playing around with it, and the fundamental issue that I made back when I was playing around with it is that I didn't have I wasn't using brass on brass. I was using aluminum on brass, and so I got it working perfectly, and then it seized, and then I threw it in the garbage and forgot about it. But I mean, if you were just to simply use brass tube that with the interference fit,
yes,
and just run a like a diaphragm pump, or better yet, a gear pump, because then it'd be reversible. But just connect them all to the same hydraulic circuit. They're all going to go up at different rates, particularly if you use different diameters of brass tubing. Okay. Yes. I think the big trick is simply creating the stop so they don't blow off the top. The big issue that I had was that when they did reach the end, it would obviously build pressure, and so I had to build a pressure relief switch in, so that when they reached the end, it would blow the pressure switch instead of blowing the periscopes off.
Right.
Because in my mind, there's water everywhere. I mean, might as well use it. And from a realism perspective, to see each one of those masts come up individually is pretty darn cool. And Steve's version, to have the communications antenna or periscope or whatever it was, come up at a different rate was a really nice compromise, and worked really well in that Oberon build that he did. But it's just because you have so much room, I think it might not be bad, rather than having like a 10-inch platform, yep, lifting and lowering, just to have a series of pistons, for lack of a better term.
Okay. That's pretty easy for me to do, I think.
I would think so. It's easy to engineer. Again, just the big thing is creating the hydraulic circuit with some sort of a blow valve that'll vent the pressure in case you forget to flick the switch off when you hit the end of the travel.
Yeah. Okay. Righto.
Yeah. So the beauty of a big boat is you have, like, there's no limit to what you can do. You're not limited by anything.
I've got a bit of space. I mean, what I've done so far up in the bow for the bow planes is that they're all individually controlled, mm-hmm, and individually turn in and out, and the doors will close, open and close. I've got doors opening and closing on there as well.
Nice.
So the planes will go out, and then the doors will close behind the planes while they're out even.
Yep. You bet.
When you got the space, it's easy to do.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see it. That'll be something to see. All right. Actually, more to the point, what I really want to watch is you getting it off your vehicle and into and out of the water.
It's going to be super light. So the only time it's going to be heavy is getting it out of the water.
No matter what, it's going to be heavy. That for that first little bit when you haul it out of the water, she's going to be heavy.
Yeah,
Do it slowly,
I mean-
it'll drain.
Mm-hmm.
that's right. I mean, I went to my car and I measured inside my car and I got about 30 mil each end inside my car. So it'll fit.
Very good. Yeah, I'm just finishing up a type 2 refit, and the builder that had built it before put drain holes in it, but I mean it's a I think 32nd type 2, so it's like 5 feet long, and he drilled 1/4 inch holes, 3 1/4 inch holes in the bottom of the hull to drain the water out.
Excellent.
Like you'd be there for like an hour for the water to drain out of that hull.
I remember a couple of weeks ago, you said something about on your website, you had a reference to work out the ballast size.
Mm-hmm.
I went looking and I couldn't find it.
It's under the subdriver, the 300 series subdriver. There's like a section in there about calculating ballast
Okay,
size. Yeah.
righto.
And I mean, obviously it's specifically oriented towards the 300 series. And so it's got specific calculations for 3-inch diameter and 3 3/4 inch diameter. But I mean, the math is all sound.
Yeah.
And Rob, how's your build coming along?
It's coming good. In fact, I've got something that I've been experimenting with, and I think Steve would know this, where it worked for me with flying, and it was how or where you can store your antenna and all this. It used to be you had to string it out and fasten it to the rudder and all this stuff. But with my boat, you know, to break away from having to put the antenna out through its end cap or come up through the top or something and then lay it along the side of the hull. Now, again, this works good for me just because it's a swimming pool. Now, if we're out in the lake, I don't know how far, you know, this would stretch out as far as being capable of controlling the boat. With aircraft, I could almost put them out of sight, and I never had any issue with it.
Your camera's at a different angle today.
Yeah, I moved it. But here's a shot showing the antenna with the receiver. And you can see how I have wrapped the antenna onto I made some threading. Basically, there are 2 bolts that I printed up and then wrapped the cable or the antenna around it. And that conceals it all inside the boat. And I used this on my, let me show one here. Might show up a little better. This is the one that I did for my skipjack.
Oh yeah,
And I did it.
the red unit there. Yeah.
Yeah, I did it the same way. And in the pool, even submerged down, you know, to where it had about that much of the tower showing, it responded very well. I had no radio problems with it whatsoever in the pool. Now, I don't know what it would be like, you know, if you got it out 25, 30 feet in a lake where water would be, you know, a problem, but it worked great in the air. So I thought I would try it on the cylinder that's going into my hauling boat, because I am going to put that down further into the water. So
Sure.
But that's something that, you know, I know works, and it's worked well in 2 boats. Plus, it keeps you from having to run the antenna outside of the cylinder at all.
Yep.
You know, you're not running wires wild in there. You're got them somewhat organized. So that's what I'm working on right now. And as far as the boat goes and where I'm at, I've got the cylinder all made up. Servos are mounted, getting ready to do all the wiring for all of this. I haven't got that done yet. And then I've got the 3D printer going on the rest of it right now. So that's kind of where I'm at with this build. And this is the one that we've also have this, the motor on this one is going to be in the wet. It mounts in the back outside of the deal, of course.
Yeah.
And that's the motor we're using on it. Now, I took this motor because they were, you know, you get 2 motors for $14. So I thought, well, yeah, here we go. We're going to stick this thing in the water and it's going to last about 10 minutes. I stuck both of them in the water, fully submerged, turned them on, ran them for 30 minutes, pulled them back out, let them dry out on their own, and hooked it back up to the battery. Everything worked great. So I dunked them down again, and this time I left them overnight in the water. They weren't running, of course, and then came back in, hooked the power to them. They started right up, no problem whatsoever.
There you go.
I think the way they've got them, they look kind of funky, and it kind of scared me, you know, at first, because I thought, well, all that water going in on a brushed motor, but somehow they've got it sealed up really good, encapsulated in that.
So that's a brushed motor that some company has said is waterproof.
Yes, and what they designed them for, you can see it. You'll get them on Amazon. They call them a thruster motor.
Oh,
well, they were specifically set up for thrusters of some sort on your boat or something, but boy, it works well. And that's what this guy did with this same Holland boat. He used the same motor. So we'll see what happens, I guess, once we get it all hooked up.
Well, and at the end of the day, honestly, for whatever you said, it was $14. If it craps out on you, then I mean, you could probably swap it out in 5 minutes and you're back.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just a matter of undoing the bracket, unplugging it, and putting it in the other one, and hooking it up to your shaft, and be a simple deal.
There you go. And because you got all the hull is all printed already. Didn't I see the parts already?
Pardon?
The hull parts are all printed already, right?
The first print job I did was that translucent Dremel. For some reason, I don't know what they do when they go to translucent like that. Where I put the resin to seal, we had a problem with it. It actually kind of crinkled it. Now, I don't know if there was something in the pigment and how they make the translucent.
Wow.
So I've gone away with that, and now I'm reprinting it all with the Dremel white.
Okay, all right.
PLA, and no problem with that. I've used it on 2 boats now, and I had good luck. So,
Did you find some cheaper?
Excuse me?
Did you find some cheaper than like $70 a roll?
Yeah. Now Amazon had they had it for $32. It popped up for $32. So I went ahead and grabbed about 4 rolls of it while it was so cheap. But yeah, it was running $68 there at one time, and some of their colors they had were up there of $60. But it looks like they dropped it down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I don't mind paying that, I guess. It's a good quality PLA, I know that. It works good, so.
Yeah, I mean, I can run other filaments in my Dremel printers, by Mickey Mousing it around, but I've never had a problem with the Dremel brand, and obviously it fits nicely in the printer, it works and all that stuff. So I think I pay an extra $5 or $8 a roll or something like that. It's just, it's better to not have to worry about running an exterior, frame to spin the filament on. And
and this with the new printer now, they've got that little code thing that's on the side of the spool.
RFID.
You put another one in there, it wouldn't work. And I thought, well, I'll pull that little tag off and stick it on, you know, another one. But I thought, nah, don't mess with it. It's not worth it.
Yeah, yeah. Pick your battles, right?
Yep.
Nick just showed up. That's awesome to see. Nick was helping me figure out of the programming interface for my BL Heli brushless ESCs, which is pretty exciting.
Any update on the shipping on that new board?
Should be here tomorrow sometime.
Nice. I'll be around. What time do your UPS usually get there?
You know, it's like random. It's totally random. It could be 9 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock at night. It's completely random.
Yeah. Well, I'll be around tomorrow if it shows up early enough and you want to mess with it.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. That'd be awesome. I actually really like those BL Heli ESCs. It's incredible that you can get like a 35 amp electronic speed controller the size of a postage stamp to run these brushless motors. It's pretty awesome. I've been hey, I was busy today. I don't know if you guys saw, I uploaded like 3 different videos on YouTube today. Yeah. What else do we have going on? Oh, and the deal of the day was actually kind of a cool one. If anybody is after one, that 1 night OTW Seahound kit I took in on trade. It comes with the kit and the cylinder and everything. So that got listed. I haven't seen any emails that anybody snatched it yet, but I don't think it'll last too long. It's a beautiful kit, absolutely beautiful. We must have because everybody was expecting maybe Saturday, but we got like 6 people today for DiveTribe because we switched the schedule out on them. But I couldn't do it on Saturday because I'm going to be in Indiana.
Get your plane sorted out?
Well, I got it figured out, not sorted out yet. And I thought it was the case. My left hand magneto on the motor crapped out on me. So the cool thing about aircraft, which I love, is like there's redundancy for everything. So there's 2 magnetos, and so like I was running off the other one, but yeah, got to send the magneto back in for overhaul. So hopefully within the next week or 2, we'll have that back up and running again, certainly in time for Subfest, so I can fly for 5 hours instead of drive for 15 hours, which will be nice.
You could probably haul more subs if you drive though, right?
You know, now that I've taken the rear seats out of the plane, like I've probably got like 6 feet by 3.5 feet of room in the back of the plane. So, and my plane actually has a pretty high weight allowance. So I really don't think I'll go over in weight. It's all about space. The really crappy thing is I'm going to be trying to take Orca, my replica of the Orca from Jaws, and that's with the mast and everything. It's really hard to pack nicely. And my cargo door is ridiculous. It's like a triangle that's like 16 inches tall and 20 inches wide, and it's hard to get stuff in and out of. All good though. First world problems, right? You driving, Frank?
Yeah, I'm driving to the ferry to go to my boat on Fire Island.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, we left it there this last weekend because we were going to be back in 3 days. So I brought stuff to work on my submarine. Don't worry.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice weekend over there, so we figured we'd take advantage.
Nice. I had a good meeting last night with a few of the crew talking about Subfest. We're gonna have a pretty exciting event this year. I think I'm super excited. We're mixing up the competitions a little bit. We're gonna have an oval. I'm not gonna call it a demolition derby, although it may turn into a demolition derby, but it's like a free-for-all race around an oval track with the submarines. I think that's gonna go over really, really well. We'll see how many people decide to step up. And it's gonna be really well attended. I was telling the guys, we've got thus far, we got 17 registered skippers, and I think another 8 or so attendees. So I mean, if even if every skipper brought 2 boats on average, you know, we're still going to be talking about, you know, 35 or 40 RC submarines at this event, that's pretty significant. That's a decent sized fleet right there.
You should do a figure 8 race.
Maybe we will. We'll have to make a pretty significant prize, because I think if there's a collision, it would have to be made worthwhile. Although I will have to say, I think most of at least at the last subfest, most of the worst damage was all operator error with interactions with the terrain versus interactions with other subs. I think we had a head-on collision with that LA. It must have been about 8 feet of depth with a rock wall underneath.
Yeah, Jeff rammed it and
straight in there. Yeah,
disconnected the cylinder so it wouldn't work anymore.
Way
Forward.
Yeah. So now we just need to pray to the weather gods that our luck holds out, because the last 2 years we've been exceptionally lucky.
Is this for the event in Georgia?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's not so far away, Nick. I mean, it's just a little drive.
Well, it's probably 2,000 plus miles from me.
You're such a whiner. Come on now. It's a 2-day drive. You can do it. Or just pack your boat in your carry-on and fly out. I'm sure TSA would love to see your boat.
I was hoping to have that before this the Ukraine shit broke out. My plan was to get that Type 23 going, because that would be a perfect carry-on.
Yeah, that's a nice size boat.
Yeah, I don't think TSA would like the Type 7.
Some of them are super cool, guys. I remember back when I first got into drones, I had a drone in a suitcase and ran that through the X-ray machine, and that was they didn't have any problems. They were just super interested. They wanted to know all about it.
Just don't tell them it has functional torpedoes, Nick. It'll be okay.
Yep.
Yeah, if they scan it, they're gonna be like, "What are those tubes? What do those do?" Yeah, every time I walk by that thing, I look at it's sitting on my desk next to the computer. Every time I walk by it, I take a look at those launchers, and I'm like, "Damn, I got to get this thing running."
Yeah, we got coming up down here in Texas. We're calling it a Texas trim part, or a Texas build party, and so we're opening up my shop to all the local guys to come out, and we're all gonna work on our boats together at the same time. But Dave Merriman probably did the best job of, well, like the only job of creating a commercial torpedo system that was available for a short period of time. It was massively labor intensive to manufacture, and it wasn't feasible from an economic perspective to continue to do it. And then also because the scale that they elected to build it in was 72nd scale. So like you're literally launching a pencil, and it's tricky to make those work properly. But I was talking to Jason, like, man, it would be awesome to commercialize a 48 and a 32nd scale weapon. And I think those are more feasible from a construction and performance perspective to get those out. You know, obviously the 48 scale is really good for that, the ARC model Type 7, which is a super popular boat. And then 32nd, I mean, that would take care of the Type 21 or 23, sorry. It would be a perfect weapon for that. And, you know, the OTW Type 7 and all of these other boats out there. So, and you'd see a bunch of people putting 32nd scale torpedoes in their 72nd scale submarines just because.
48 scale will be perfect for the sea view.
There you go.
You're still selling those torpedo timers, right?
Yep.
Yeah, those actually work perfect. I know you've already done it with the 132nd, but that's what I'm using in those 148. They fit in there just snug, just perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm working right now on that on 9th scale Seahoon. So the torpedoes are what, 2.5? Well, no, not 2.5, 2.25 inches in diameter. The customer that ended up buying it, he just wanted like fire and forget weapons. He didn't want them fully RC'd or anything like that. So I'm going to have the weapons fire on remote fob. So I'm going to have a frame that mounts to the top of the radio. So left tube, right tube, on, off. So when your torpedoes reaching the edge of the pool, you can turn it off instead of having it smash headlong into, the side of the pool and break things or whatever. So we're rigging that up to get done. And Logan's Millennium Falcon is turning out awesome. I don't know if you guys have been following that, but we totally gutted the propulsion system and redid it. So it's a water jet style propulsion now. It throws water like crazy. And we're going to have differential pitch control on each side of the boat. So it'll be able to do barrel rolls and all sorts of cool stuff. Hoping tomorrow we're going to be going into trimming. So keep our fingers crossed.
How much longer is he home for?
He takes off, not obviously this week, but we all leave to go back up to Iowa to get him settled in on Wednesday. So like a week from today. Yeah, I'm gonna miss him, but yet not. It's funny how used to empty nesting you get.
You have to stop running around naked then, or you can start running around naked then.
It's less of an issue for me than it is for my wife, but yeah, it's 100% the case.
He looked good on your video today, Bob.
Which one?
The ones you just put up where you were talking about the whale and.
Oh yeah, the video, yeah.
Yeah, he looked sharp.
We need to get more people submitting videos to look at. There's so much cool stuff out there, but I don't have time to like surf the internet all the time, but there's got to be like really cool videos out there that we can talk about.
Well, I started printing that whale, and I kind of shoved it aside because of, looking at it. I don't know if it was going to be a viable thing, but I think that thing would be interesting to do.
Where were those files? Where can you find those files? Because I'm happy.
I went to the YouTube, and he gave, I forget now, but it was on the YouTube, the original YouTube that he had put up on it. I just accidentally got into it, fell into it, and I see now that CG Trader, which is another 3D printing outfit, they have it on there as well, but they don't show it as an RC type deal. It's just as a model. So,
gotcha.
But it's out there, and I got the files. So,
and so the files that he was using are those RC optimized, or did he do all of the modifications to make it RC?
Yes, it's all set up, and I don't recall if it's got a file for his particular watertight compartment, but yeah, it shows the linkages, and it gives a pretty good description on how to put them in. So it's pretty, you know, I could send that to you if you want, Bob. I'll look it up.
Yeah, because I don't think that would be a significant investment in terms of time to get going. And I made some comments on the video about what I would do to make it go. He made some not wise choices, I guess, in terms of how to make it go. But I mean, for who he is and what he does, I mean, I'm super impressed, like kudos to him for making all this stuff work. RC Hump, I just want to see if I can find it for you guys, because it's, yeah, here we go. Episode 2, episode 4. If you have you guys seen it before, or am I being like redundant? So this is a guy by the name of Tiber. He goes, I think he's Asian, right, Rob?
Yeah.
But this is his RC humpback whale. The big thing I wanted to show, he goes into a lot of detail about how he built it. So here's like the hull. So he's got the forward pectoral fins actuated, but the issue, and I identified this in my video, is that the fins are mounted right in the middle of the submarine. And so this is very much like the Hunley in that you don't actually have any pitch control. You know, if you dive with the pectoral fins, it pulls the entire model down somewhat, you know, along the center line of the model, and so you've got no effective pitch control. So what I said is I would actually fix these forward pectorals in position and actuate the tail to tilt up and down, and I think that would work really, really well. When you take a look at like back here, this is the vectored thrust on the back, and at the end, he's got some operational video. So you can see it vectors the thrust really, really well. He's got a bow thruster in it, like a lot of unnecessary stuff. I think this would be a super fast project. Has his bow thruster going. And he printed his, I think he printed his fins hollow, and so they're floating with enough force to stretch this elastic band. You see, they're not working particularly well. But his thruster is main propulsion would go like crazy. I would actually love to give that a try. I think it would be really cool.
Well, I may pull it back out and do some work on it, but in the meantime, I'll find out where I got those files from and ship it to you, Bob.
Yeah, I would appreciate that.
Any information I have on it.
Because actually, my printers are open right now. I've got a couple of things going. They're typically all my printers are running, but I'd probably scale that up, you know, another 50% or something, just to make it a little more significant. But yeah, super cool. That's an interesting project for sure.
He's got some neat stuff. He likes to experiment a lot.
Yeah, out of the box thinking. I love it. It's absolutely awesome.
Is that shark you have for your orca? Is that already radio controlled, or does that still need to be converted?
So I've got two sharks. One is just like a rubber toy I got off of eBay. It's a little big. It's in scale. It's like 28 feet long or something like that. It's pretty big. But I 3D printed a new one that would be to scale, because I think Jaws Bruce, as he was called, was supposed to be 23 or 24 feet long in the movie. So he's all done. I got all the parts. I just need the time. It's going to be fully RC and a dynamic diver. And the thing I love about it, I got the idea from an Amazon toy. So the tail is segmented, and it you know, like, did you guys ever play with those wooden snakes? You know, you pick them up and you move them a little bit, and they would twist around like they're alive. That's what the tail is like. It's all segmented like that. And then there's a thruster mounted on the base of each of the pectoral fins. And so if you alternate the throttle left and right, it makes it look like it's swimming, and the tail, you know, swishes back and forth as you modify those throttle inputs. And then you can, I'm going to have it so that those pectoral fins can tilt up and down. So it'll be a full dynamic diving shark. I think that's going to be super cool.
You're gonna make the mouth open too, right?
No, we're not going to do that. Would actually be awesome too, though. Jam a little air cylinder in the corner of it. Yeah. No, I just gotta find the time. We're super busy. I've never been as busy as we are right now.
That's good. That's good.
It is, but I mean, it feels like, you know, constantly running your head into the wall over and over and over again. You just feel like you make some progress, and there's 2 more projects that get thrown in your lap. I can't say too much of it about it, but I've been approached by a company out of California that's working with the National Science Foundation and the Department of Defense on some drone stuff that they've got me consulting on, which is super, like, you can even like guess with 100 guesses the kind of stuff that they're doing with this. So it's pretty fun.
Is that San Diego?
All I know is they're in California. It's that place on the West Coast. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of is spearheaded down in the San Diego, Southern California area. Also, Scripps does a bit of work with that as well.
Scripps.
Yeah, Scripps Ocean Institute.
Okay.
I worked with them for a little while.
Gotcha. I was just trying to see if I can pull up my. Oh, whatever. I was going to try and pull up their website. I can't remember what it is. Anyhow, yeah. So yeah, lots of cool things going on as a whole. I am, by the way, down to like my last 3 or 4 75 megahertz radios. So once those are gone, that's it. No more left. I've got 72 megahertz radios that are not new, but you know, in pretty good shape. It does sound though like from Matt, I'm going to be getting, I think he's got 40 of the old Futaba 6-channel radios and with receivers. They're not super cheap. They're a little more expensive than the Vex, but actually I think they're a higher quality radio. So those should be coming through fairly shortly. But I guess what I'm getting at is we're really starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel in terms of low frequency radios.
Is Steve falling asleep?
I am.
Yes.
Wake up.
He's about ready to fall out of his chair.
I finally got my hands on that Angle 177. I picked that, got it about maybe a month ago. Guy gave it to me, and then finally on, I think it was Friday, it was brought up to me. I was able to take a look at it. The whole dry haul in it came out very easily in one piece.
Oh no. Oh no.
Didn't
No,
do that.
it's fine. It's fine. It came right out. but didn't break, just came right out, so it could probably be cleaned up and put right back in if need be.
Sorry, which boat was this?
Is that Angle 177 Type 9?
Oh, the Type 9. Yeah. Wow. That's a nice kit.
Yeah, guy was giving it away, complete running finished boat he built maybe I don't know, 15 years ago.
Oh, wait, did I see that? Was it like posted up on like Facebook or something?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he used to run it in Golden Gate Park, where I used to run all the time. And I said, hey, I'm somewhat local. If it's still available, I'll take it. And he said, yeah, it's yours.
There you go.
So it's pretty nice.
Awesome.
That was nice of him. But yeah, I think it was the first sub he did, and surprisingly, he did pretty good job on it. But I don't know what adhesive he used. To me, it looked like fiber resin, but it did not bond. I don't know if he cleaned the hull before he used it, but it did not bond that dry hull into the hull adequately enough, and it was really brittle. It just popped right out.
So if I remember correctly from building my Angle boats, when you get that, they ship you like a half liter of polyester resin and microballoons. And that's what they recommend that you mix up for securing the dry hull to the hull itself. But of course, part of the instructions is to make sure that you sand or grind the inside of the hull to remove the wax, that forms on the outside of the fiberglass to make sure that it bonds properly. So it doesn't sound like that maybe that ended up happening, but at least it came out, like you said, in one piece. So that's actually the weird thing. And I've never built a Type 9. I haven't had one in front of me, but the Akula, the Typhoon uses the hull as the bottom part of the dry hull, and then it uses like a cap or whatever you want to call it to section off the rest of the boat for the dry hull. So does the entire dry hull lift out? It's all self-contained and waterproof, or is it like?
No, it uses the bottom of the hull, like you were explaining, and then it's a separate molded piece, or it's actually, like Steve would know. He just built one. It's got the front bulkhead and then the top deck, and then the secondary piece makes the back bulkhead, and it overlaps. Yeah, you bond that whole thing in there, and the first thing I looked at was if that fiberglass, like you said, was sanded or scuffed at all to get rid of that wax. And I don't think it was, and that's why it had the bonding issue. So, potentially that thing probably would have sank eventually if you cycled the piston tanks enough, maybe.
Oh,
it
yeah.
probably would have.
It would have cracked, blown, lost water pressure, cycle the tank, suck the water in. Yep.
Yep. So yeah, I'm debating whether to go back to dry hull piston tank on that one, or put a cylinder in it.
Yeah, I mean, if you got everything there and it's working, I mean, when those systems are working, they're pretty freaking cool stuff. I mean, Steve knows it is not for the beginner by any stretch of the imagination, but when they work, they're pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My issue with those is like, if something goes wrong or stops working, diagnosing what is wrong, it's like hours and hours of work to figure out. Probably easier for you because you have an electronics background, I think, but for the layman, holy cow.
Yeah. Well, like the modifications that that's just that boat in general, as it comes from Angle, you got a very small opening in the center to get to anything. So that makes it really hard. What Steve did on the one he built recently, adding the forward and aft extra hatches, oh my God, that makes a huge difference in being able to get to all that stuff in there. Because before I figured out that the dry hull popped out, I was sitting there cussing and swearing for hours trying to remove everything that was in the inside the hull through that little opening. And once I got everything out, then I was like, oh shit, this dry hull's, it's just it's just brittle, or not the hull, not the part itself, but the actual the adhesive.
Well, I'm trying to remember, Steve, when you built yours, do they still do it like the Typhoon, where basically you build everything and then you put the top on it? Or do you put the top on it and then shoehorn everything in?
I think you're supposed to put the dry, are you talking, when you say the top, you mean the dry hull?
Yep.
Yeah, you build it with the dry hull in place and then you put everything inside of it. Now, Dave Ruiz, who I was building it for, he had been following another gentleman's build who had recommended cutting holes in the front and the back of the deck. And so he wanted to have it done that way. And that's what I did. So I made some metal frames out of aluminum to put the bolts through from the bottom side, kind of like the middle was. And to strengthen that, and just added those extra, it made a big difference in being able to access stuff.
Yeah, that's what I did with my first Typhoon. It was the first thing I looked at. I was like, this is stupid. Because like you take a look at it, like that pressure hull, it's like 1/4 of an inch thick fiberglass with steel reinforcement beams around the outside of the thing. Like if they expect you to dive like 150 feet down or something like that, it's crazy.
It's very robustly designed. It doesn't need to be like that, but that's how they did it.
Yeah. And then the other big thing that I did, and I can't remember if you did this or not, I got rid of I think it was 1/8 inch aluminum and went to 1/4 inch acrylic, so that you could see inside what was going on, what was working, if it was leaking, if there's condensation or whatever.
Yeah, I went with acrylic plates, and different gasket material. It wasn't that round rolled or bead gasket that they provided.
Right.
It was a flat gasket that I cut. So it was changed based on experience from other builders.
Yeah.
But turned out well.
It did.
Yeah, it turned out really nice. You want to build another one?
I mean, I just about do it in my sleep, but it's a lot of work, I tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it turned out really nice.
The biggest thing with Dave's was I redid every one of the stanchions that held the horizontal rails on the railing all around the deck and on the sides of the boat and stuff, so that they anchored from the outside, because on that boat they would come in not from the top the way it was designed, but from the outside into the hull. And so I built a little jig out of fiberglass plate to clamp and hold each of those, and I bent every one of them by hand to come in at an angle. And then so I tried to make it more scale in that regard, but that was a lot of extra work, drilling all the holes for that and soldering all that together and whatnot, but it turned out.
Yeah, no, it made a world of difference. All the modifications you guys did on that, from what the original kit was to what you guys did with it, like, made a huge difference in the appearance.
David provided that decking from Maximus Model Bow that was all cut or milled or whatever, so it was really precise out of like styrene sheet. Very nice upgrade. And then the whole sail was that was it a Type 9 D2, I think it was. So it was longer, it was different shape. And then he provided all of the deck guns and everything that were off his resin printer. So he even found one of those little gyrocopters that was stuck.
That's right. Yeah.
Roughly the same scale. That was, I think, more of a headache to put together than the boat.
Get the tweezers out to put that thing together.
Exactly.
That's those things are labors of love, that really, if any builder, you know, like Steve or myself or anybody that does it for compensation were to charge out the actual time that you put into building them, nobody would be able to afford to get them built. And I think we found that out afterwards, right, Steve?
Yeah. It's hard to gauge. You know, you start a project and you have certain intentions, and then you realize when you get into it, that ain't gonna work. I need to shift gears, or I'm gonna do this instead, and that's gonna take more time that I didn't anticipate. There's a lot to it that it's really tough until you finally get it done, and then you realize, wow, I should have charged more for that, but then it's too late, you know?
Yep. What I was getting at is, you know, boats like that are really a labor of love and more designed for the people who, you know, have the skill set to put it together properly and the heart and passion to do a really good job of assembling it. You know, I've learned from a commercial perspective, I'm not talking about the emotional part of it or the passion part of it. You know, knocking out a modern nuclear boat, you know, and that kind of thing is where my bread and butter is. Again, because, you know, even if people paid me what it would be worth to put together a boat like that, it would stall my shop utterly and completely. It would take up the bench for months and months and months, and it would stall all of the other things that we've got going on. So don't even have the capabilities of doing a justice to a project like that. So
I think in my case, it is a labor of love. I don't think I could make a boat for somebody else because I get into the details so much that I don't want to give it away after that. You know what I'm saying? And because I want everything to be exact. You know, I know it's like a fantasy submarine, but I look to make it where it's really believable. And you know, I've changed things 2 and 3 times just to get it to where I want things to work the way I want them to work. And when it's all done, it's said and done, when it's in the water, it's going to be, sit back and say, yeah, I did it.
yeah, the other thing you've got to realize too, and again, Steve knows about this, and anybody else who has gone into business for themselves knows, you've always got this looming deadline that is like in the back of your mind, and so you're constantly fighting against this in the back of your mind as you're working on things. You know, do I rush it? You know, or do I take it apart and redo it like I should do it? But if I do that, it's going to push the deadline back, and the guy's already pissed off at me because it's taking too long. So it's super. That's probably, I think, one of the biggest challenges of working for other people for building stuff like that is the deadline, which is why when I do things like that, I tell them not like dates, but like rough months that it may be done.
We had the same thing in our custom woodworking shop business, Bob. When people brought stuff in to be done, I would just have to tell them, you know, here's an approximate date. And I had some of them that were out there a year and a half before I could even start on them.
Yeah.
So they would pay the deposit and they would sit on it, but then I would, you know, be constant getting back to them, letting them know the status and everything else. And the majority of them did wait. You know, they waited till we could get on it. And once we got started, everything went well.
I will say, as a
very
rule,
stressful.
As a rule, you know, the customers that have engaged with me to do builds have been exceptionally understanding about, you know, this world that we're playing in and timelines. And like right now, I'm telling them, everybody's like, oh, would you build this for me? I'm like, I'm not accepting build commissions. I'm booked out to 2023. Let's reconnect in 3 or 4 months. And they're like, okay, absolutely. Just keep me in mind. I'm in no rush. Whatever happens, I want one of these boats and I want you to build it. So I'm glad there's people like that out there.
Yeah. Do they pay a deposit, Bob, when you get them on, or do they You just
So
wait.
when I feel comfortable that I'm to the point where, you know, my queue is manageable, then I will take a deposit. But for example, if someone were to say, yeah, hey, no matter what, I want you to build a boat for me in 2023, nope, I'm not going to hold on to your money
Right.
for, you know, 6 months or 8 months or 10 months or a year. Again, I would stress, you know, I stress about it because as soon as you take that money, it's a commitment.
Yeah.
There's an obligation to them. Whereas the worst case scenario, if something changes, I can be like, look, I'm sorry, you know, things have changed. Yeah, I keep a spreadsheet of everything going out, and I don't call them deposits. I call them what's the word I use? It's like it's like obligations, you know. It's like in a worst case scenario, what do I have to give back to everybody if something happens? So it's like a liability, you know, and until that thing is done, it's money that I basically owe people. So like a loan they're giving me.
Yeah.
You could always call it earnest money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but at the end of the day, if you can't perform or can't follow through, that's breach of contract on your part, and that money has to go back to them, right?
Yeah, it's a pain.
Did Jason ever get that Type 70 started, finished and running?
No, it's one of those things, you know. I think it's, you know, he works at the subs all day, and then the idea of working on it in the evening is probably a little hard for him. So, you know, we had this idea that we were going to work on personal projects every second Friday for an hour or two, and we're just so freaking busy, and we have no room. None of that's happened, so I don't think anything's gone through on his side. Certainly none of my personal projects have done anything. So
He was gonna have it done in 3 months. Come on.
I thought it was 2 weeks. Didn't he say 2
I-
weeks?
I wasn't
3 weeks
gonna-
or something. Yeah. Yeah, that bubble was burst pretty good. But it's good. You need reality checks every once in a while.
Steve, how long does it usually take you generally to build one of those big ones?
Depends entirely on the boat. Like, for example, my Jimmy Carter right now. I'm almost done printing the hull, but there's some issues with the wide, I don't know what they call them, wide area arrays or wide aperture arrays or whatever that are on the bottom of the hull that I'm correcting. That's going to take some extra time. You know, if it's an accurate hull, like the Thresher was a very good print, a very good hull to print. That permit class didn't have to do much of any modifications of any kind to it, and it just turned out very well. So it went fairly quickly, but I've got maybe 6 to 8 weeks on this Jimmy Carter, but I've lost a few parts, typical in 3D printing. Had to start over on some of them, things like that. So anyway, it just, you know, to build the boat, it's going to be maybe 4 to 5 months at the most. But that's because I'm making changes to it. I mean, I could do it faster if I wasn't making those changes to it.
Yeah. And you've got a regular job, so you do this.
Yeah, this is in my spare time, my evenings and weekends and whatnot.
Yeah, because I'm working on the Seaview. It's coming up to 3 years now. You know.
Yeah.
So
if you stop making all these changes to it, you could maybe get it done.
That's true.
My first boat took me almost two years to build.
This is my first boat, so I'm learning as I'm going. And you know, you guys say something, and I'm saying, you know what, that's not a bad idea, and then I'll incorporate that somehow. So it's your guys' fault. So, but yeah, I'm really happy with it.
So there you go, John, your Typhoon, you have 2 years from now to get it done. We're starting the stopwatch.
2 years, it's going to be printed in about a week's time, and then I'm going to be in the water in about a month's time.
Okay, you heard it, and it's being recorded. We're gonna hold you to it.
Yeah, the trouble is
gonna-
I don't print anything. I make everything. So it's, I'm not taking away from you guys that know how to use the 3D printers, because, in some cases that's the best, and it saves a lot of time, but I'm too old to learn that stuff. I just make it by hand like I did all my life.
Yeah,
What-
I used to make, like you, Frank, I used to make everything from scratch, machine it, whittle it, carve it, whatever it took. And then I just got lazy.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
that's
Nick,
a huge-
you've got
What's that?
mentality. You've got that electronic, computer mentality. You're there already. I'm almost 70 years old, and I'm not going to start now to learn that stuff.
I'm with
come
Nick,
on,
though,
man.
It's
I'm
funny.
pushing 80, Frank, and I'm doing it. So if I can do it, anybody can do it.
John,
It's not that I can't. I'm just, I'll say it like Nick said it, but I'm going the opposite way. I'm just too lazy to learn it.
No.
I
I
went to-
admire you master builders. I'll tell you that. You guys that do it that way are fantastic.
I went to computer school and everything. It's not like I'm computer illiterate, but you don't use it, you lose it.
There you go.
My kids still set the time on the VCR for me. Just kidding.
John, are you
Yeah.
using FDM printer for that?
Yeah, I've built a 500 by 500 rat rig printer.
Yeah.
And I've just bought a Elegoo Saturn 2 resin printer. So
Yeah.
So the sections of the hull I'll just do up on the FDM and just do 400 sections at a time.
Yeah.
I worked it out, it'll take about 55 hours per section. And then all of the bow planes and the rudders and stuff, all of the finer stuff, I'll just do on the resin printer. So
Yeah.
then I get those more accurate.
How thick are your walls?
At the moment, I've drawn them up at 3 mil thick, but I'm
Okay.
using a PDG carbon fiber filament for it. So, and what I was planning on doing as I'm gluing together, I'm going to glass in a layer of carbon right through the whole boat as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Is the
I know-
carbon fiber going to block your radio signal?
No, because I'm going to use 2.4 out the mast, so it makes no difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I know printing the Typhoon that I did at 172, which was Bob's files, is not your files. It took a lot longer to print that than what you're anticipating.
That's because if I remember correctly, in 1/144 scale, those were 3 mil walls. And so to scale up to almost double that, you're probably at 5 or 6 millimeter thick.
Yeah.
They were thick. Yeah, they were thick.
I've done a section of Bob's and they're about 5 mil thick walls. So,
Yeah.
but I've spent the last 6 weeks learning how to use Fusion to start even just drawing it. So,
Yeah.
I've done some test sections on the printer to make sure that the stability is going to be okay.
Mhm.
But I'm hoping that I'll start printing that probably next month. I should have the rest of the drawings good enough but I want to draw all of the supports and everything for the cylinders and stuff in the hull before I start printing it. So it's just made as one thing and everything structural.
Yeah.
I did my Columbia in about 3 mil wall thickness, and it's 93 inches long, but it's only about 8 inches in diameter. And the way I joined it was with strips of the plastic that I had printed, glued in with CA, and then it's really stout. I joined the top to the bottom kind of with some screw heads, kind of a key slot type thing, so it drops down on and slides back. And when you lock them together, it's very, very rigid. The way it's built. Now I didn't put any fiberglass in that one, but I did run some fiberglass tape along the length of my thresher. So anyway, all that extra reinforcement helps, but it's surprising how stiff it is. And on this big Jimmy Carter, that whole hull, the bottom of that hull is longer than a door is tall, and there's really not that much floppiness to it. It's very stiff, but I've got it reinforced with carbon fiber tubes or spars.
Yep.
Especially where I had to make the extension for it. But I mean, it's stout. I'm surprised how beefy it is for its size. And I'm still going to reinforce it with some fiberglass tape along the horizontal seams and stuff. But anyway.
Okay. And you're putting the tape on the inside or the outside?
The inside.
Yeah.
All right, I am bumping up against my time limit. I can go, but you guys can hang out if you want to. I just need to have a volunteer. Okay.
Okay, see you guys later.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, boys.
All right, sounds good, guys. Have a great
Started
night.
the engines.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy.
All right, bye.
Be safe.